My name is Stephen King. I've written several motion pictures.
It's for the best.
Eddie, please!
Here's Johnny.
Get busy living or get busy dying. That's damn right.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise.
Abandon all hope, all that enter Terror Firma.
Oh, Will Sweet.
It's a little sweet. Steve Klone, how's it going?
I thought that was your R. Kelly in court.
that was just a
Is that
layup.
what he sounded like? That? Oh, wow, shit. I didn't know I could do R. Kelly.
Yeah, oh,
That's like a new...
Yeah,
that
except you don't
shows how
sing
young
like
you are.
them. It's just your other activities.
And we're actually live. So that's probably not the comment to
All
start
right.
with. But here we go.
Which one of us do you think
Well,
is
we're
R.
talking
Kelly?
about scary things, so you know.
It's true.
Well, we've got a great lineup today on Terra Firma TV, so we'll go from left to right where you introduce yourself. So TW, you go first.
My name is T.W. Brown. I write zombie books for a living and then narrate everything from alien sci-fi romance to horror to, right now, a spanking good gay romance. So I'm pretty much wide open for about anything when it comes to audiobooks.
Awesome. And Dave?
Okay, I'm Dave the Klone from the Hollow9ine Network. I'm a podcaster, showrunner, and just general movie aficionado type guy from over there, and came out to talk about the King, man. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
And Sandwich?
And I'm Sandwich from the Ranting and Raving podcast. We talk about pretty much everything that's not politics and try to make jokes about everything else. So if you like what you hear, come on over to Ranting Podcast and find us.
Yeah, and FYI, on the emails I've been getting recently, people have been referring to you guys as my co-hosts because you've been on so many episodes.
We're like your Apatow inside crew that is like, hey, I'm making my 12th movie this year. You guys want to listen? Just move your shit in. I've got rooms for all of you, and we're just gonna make like 10 movies, and we're gonna pretend we tried to cast them, and no one else was as good as all of you.
But everybody in the
fuck it.
Apatow movies are usually funny and talented. I feel like we're the guys from like the Adam Sandler movies that are just like, oh, that guy that was in the last Adam Sandler movie.
He'll eventually get to be grandma's boy.
Yeah, like Franco's brother, like the non-personality Franco.
Oh man, don't talk like that about me,
Dave
man.
Franco?
Dave Franco, man. I'm just as good as dude. Not cool.
That's a guy who needs to smoke a joint to get like his brother.
Pretty much. I mean, he gets fucking demolished in the beginning of Warm Bodies. So it's kind of like when shit like that happens, you're like, I don't mind him. He's all right. You know, he walked in, got his fucking head split open, and literally the dude's eating his brain and reliving his memories. That's like fucking torturous. That movie freaked me out when that was happening. I was like, holy shit, the zombies are going to steal all my experiences? Fuck this. And I just couldn't watch the rest of it.
I was going to say, and then the rest of the movie happened. And
Yeah, I was just like, I'm out. I am out. This is fucking crazy. Why didn't they warn me?
And how's this for a cue to bridge that to the actual topic? He's actually linked to be starring in the Dead Zone.
Oh, wow.
In the production.
So who is he playing in the Dead Zone?
He's
he's the Christopher Walken character? Like, is he the main guy? Oh my god, Dave Franco? Really?
Yeah.
This is why Stephen King movies suck. Shit like this. Oh my god.
Hey,
what the fuck?
Hey, he was in Neighbors 2, okay? So relax.
Which was actually decently funny.
But
You
let's be fair. The guy from Weird Science was in the TV show version of it.
You'd think that somebody with this much horror clout could actually get some real actors in some of his movies. You know, I mean, I'm sick of settling for Molly Ringwald. You know, I just.
I like the Mick Garris Stan movie, but I know I'm alone on that island.
Well, there were parts. You know, it's, the problem that I had was Rob Lowe and Molly Ringwald. Those were the two problems that I had mostly.
I also had problems with like one shot Rob Lowe's wearing a blue baseball cap, then all of a sudden he's not in the next shot, and we didn't see him take it off. We never even saw him put it on. Shit like that, where I was like, guys, look, are you using students to make these fucking movies? Is that what's going on here? Is it
I'm using the case?
Oh shit, man! I kind of set him up for that one.
The problem is what they let us all on back in 1979. Because when I read the book The Stand in '79, the back jacket of the paperback said "soon to be a Paramount release produced by George A. Romero."
Oh wow!
And
wow!
Then we got nothing forever, you know. And then when we finally did get something, it was that.
Well, it took a week to fucking watch it too. It was like 4 nights on ABC, right? It was like spread out over a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that.
I mean, the only thing good about it was the soundtrack,
which you couldn't buy if you bought the soundtrack, like I did, and had to have the store order it because no one fucking carried it. It was only the like actual score of the movie. It was like this.
Yeah, the Snuffy Walden stuff is the only stuff you had. So yeah, you weren't.
But it was good though. It was good. And if you read the book while listening to it, it was kind of trippy. It was sort of like you're suddenly merging the two in your mind and making the perfect version.
There you go, and then you can cast it in your head. You know?
Yeah,
you have your own trash can man.
Yeah, true. I mean, I did like Gary Sinise though. Gary Sinise was pretty good as Stu. He was one of the things that carried it. I also like the guy who played Larry. I thought that was kind of cool. But again, I am alone on the island for these things. I get it. I totally prepared to be the only guy who liked that fucking movie.
You're like, I'm completely aware I'm going to be fighting for my life tonight.
No, I don't fight like that. I just give up after a while. I'm like, oh, really? This is a big deal to you? Fuck you. Fine, just cut the cord. You win. I'm out. Let's move to the next one. I'm not going to change your fucking mind. It's fine. It's all good.
I did the jumping down the rabbit hole on all these films in the last couple of days, and you know, ones I thought like I had a memory of being vaguely good when I was wee. It's like you watch them as an adult and you're like, was I like drinking chlorine or something back then? Because this is shit.
Which you could have been, because all the swimming pools were like so over chlorinated back in the day.
Well, and we're so used to, you know, such big productions now, and most of the King stuff, except for Carrie, was coming out on television. I mean, the Salem's Lot with David Soul and the kid that was James from 16 or James from 15, depending on what season you watched. You know, I mean, I read that book when I was 13 years old and slept with a crucifix under my pillow.
Yeah,
I watched the TV version of it, and the first thing that a 13-year-old notices is that they've got the Barlow Straker character names backwards. And that was it for me. I was done. You know, I couldn't get past it. You know, I mean, I loved when the Glick boy was, you know, hovering outside the window with his little fang saying, "Danny, let me in." But after that, I mean, they're just, you know, they took the Nosferatu vampire and threw him in the mix, and that was pretty much it. But if you can't even get the character names right, and a 13-year-old notices it, that's a problem.
You fucked up.
Yeah. They kind of lost me when they cast David Soul.
Well, but he was cool back then. You know, I mean, remember, Geraldo Rivera was
that one from Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it better or worse than casting Steven Weber in The Shining? You know what I mean? Like, what the fucking fuck were you thinking? You're following up Jack Nicholson. What are you fucking? I mean, Steven Weber, if you're watching, 13 Reasons Why, you killed it as the principal of that school, and that was good, man. But I don't know. Why did they even make that movie? That was another one. I'm like, why'd they fucking do this to us? Why?
Maybe the director was just a real big fan of the TV show Wings, and he couldn't get John Larroquette.
Or Tim Daly. They're both like, yeah, no. Although Tim Daly came around and did Storm of the Century a couple of years later, which was rough, too. They kind of all are. I mean, I feel like the first one that I actually liked was The Mist, and that was just because Frank Darabont directed it. You know what I mean? It was
at least it was close. Yes, I will give him credit. At least The Mist was close. I mean, this goes back to what Hollywood has done time and time again with movies. And, anybody who sat there at the end of Cujo, and then the kid goes, and you're like, oh, boo, no. And here's, at the time that came out, I think I was 15 by then. So there's a row of us sitting in the theater celebrating the fact that this lady got what she deserved. I mean, she was screwing around on her husband and your kid's dead. And then he coughs. And it was like the whole point of the book, was she got hers in the end. And then all of a sudden she didn't. And it was like, all right, we're leaving.
That should have been the tagline of the movie. Your kid's dead.
I thought you meant, all right, we're leaving. All right, we're leaving. Yeah, that was a good one, man. They told you what to do right from the get. Like, fuck it.
Or just a general no thanks.
Like, really? Like, he's like, as you buy the ticket, they're just like, really? You sure?
Are you sure?
Do you want to do this? Is someone forcing you? It's like they have to ask you, like, when you're in court, are you answering the questions of your own free will? Have you been, pressured by anyone? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to fucking tell you. They put a gun to my head and said, don't tell anybody. They made me do this. Fuck you. It's ridiculous.
I think the guy at the ticket booth was like, really, boys? This is the movie? This is the R-rated film that you're going to sneak into with fake IDs? Oh, okay. Well, have a good time.
Because you had to do that for movies at one point. It was almost like a bar. it was like drinking. You're like, hey, we got the cards, man. We're gonna go see Cujo. Like, what? Yeah, we're gonna go see this shit. It's about a dog. Like, wait a minute, you got fake IDs? Yeah. To say we're 18. I'm like, what? You didn't even go 21? Oh my god. It's like calling yourself McLovin.
Not even the last name.
In our defense, there were still states in the union that had the 18 drinking age.
Oh,
back in
that must have been awesome.
Legally, you can drink in the UK at 18. Everyone starts about 12.
Yeah, you guys are very liberal on that side of the pond, man.
No, we're just alcoholics.
That too.
You know what you like.
Yeah, the shoe fits.
Some people just call it like they see it, and the other ones admit it, and they're like, hey, we're just moving right along. I'm in the stream, and I'm on the side of the stream. All this has happened before. It'll all happen again.
So, an interesting theory someone shared with me a couple of days ago was the best Stephen King adaptations come from his short stories or his novellas. What do you think about that? So, because that would cover things like Shawshank Redemption. What else covers on that?
Well, the Green Mile was a series of
Me.
super short, pieces too. Stand By Me. I think because you know what, his larger novels fall apart at the end every fucking time. Some of the huge, especially Dark Tower. I mean, I don't know anybody who wasn't a little disappointed by the actual end and then totally walked into the trap and got fucked by the afterwards. And we're just like, you really just did this? You really just said, oh, hey, and they start all over again at the very beginning. Spoiler alert. And like, I don't know, especially the big one too, Under the Dome. I remember that, like, the first third was awesome. And it's like he has this thing where, like, it almost like Michael Crichton had the same thing happening too, where it's like the gimmick is hot for the first third. By the middle part, you're like starting to meander and you're starting to wonder, how the fuck is this all going to come together? And then at the end, it's just like, oh, it doesn't. Gotcha. You fucking prick. Thank you.
His books are so massive and there's so much character development that you simply can't mash that into a 2-hour film. Like they would have to do a Game of Thrones kind of thing where it's like this in-depth thing, an hour and a half every episode, for 7 seasons for you to get the full idea of what the fuck he's actually talking about.
And I mean, Dark Tower would actually be perfect for them to do that with, to be honest.
Right, exactly, because there's what, 700 books?
It's 7 books that are like 800 pages long each.
Right, exactly. So HBO, if you're listening.
Yeah, you guys do have a big vacancy opening up after next season.
Yeah.
Season and a half. As soon as they ran the finale, of course, they told everybody, and it might be 2 years before you see season 8. But still, yeah there was an opening.
Did they say that? I thought they said November 2018.
They said maybe.
Maybe.
They're not even sure at that point. They're saying maybe because of all the CGI dragon stuff in the last season.
I was going to say they can wait as long as they want, as long as they do it right. I don't want them to rush it.
Is it just me that wants Steve Buscemi to play Stephen King in The Dark Tower?
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
He's the only guy I can think of
awesome.
that's weird enough looking.
Didn't he revise the books to pull that out? Like, I think he did like a kind of like he went through all the books again and revised them, like he fixed them.
It was very much like a Stan Lee moment, the moment he wrote himself into the book.
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
I remember reading
really?
Going, is this happening? Yeah. Is this happening? This is really fucking going down. Like, I don't know. When you almost die, I guess weird shit happens to you. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I have to memorialize myself in my own book. Like, let's do this. It's meta.
I have a theory that he did that in the period when he was coming off drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was fully off the drugs, he realized how bad an idea it was.
No wonder they're making fun of me for this one.
That's my James Hetfield theory with Saint Anger. The first album they did sober, and he's like, "Is this what it's supposed to sound like?" I don't fucking know,
dudes. I don't remember the last 20 years. People keep paying for our shit. I mean, this is what we would show up and do. I guess it used to sound better.
We'll just turn it up loud.
You know what it is? They got self-conscious. That's the whole thing.
Death Magnetic, and then they finally came back to reality in the last one.
But Death Magnetic, I thought was really good. I haven't listened to Hardwired yet. I like Death Magnetic.
Yeah, it was just compressed like crazy, so you could turn it up loud.
Yeah, which is awesome. Good job, guys. No, never again will there be another Injustice for All. I think Injustice for All is Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. You know what I mean? It's like there's like a good parallel there.
It's still the only true realization of the Green Goblin on screen.
Of all the things to take away from that movie.
Got one positive.
We kind of appropriated a Marvel character.
So has anybody had a chance to get to the preview of it, which, I mean, the problem that I have is that is the last book of his that I read. After I read it, I think the next book that came out, I picked it up, I got 10 pages in, and I went, nope. So it is honestly the last King book that I read, start to finish.
Wow.
And, you know, movie-wise, of course, I mean, it was butchered. But
yeah.
Once again, you know, the commercials are luring me closer to going to see it, you know?
Yeah, the trailers terrify me. So, and I mean, Drew knows full well. I'll go to see any horror movie, but especially the ones where the trailer gets me.
Raiders of the Lost Shark.
Yeah, holy shit. Who made that? Was that Jeff who made that suggestion? That's fucking abysmal. That's a whole different show. I wouldn't even dive into that because that was just.
Is this like a sci-fi horror movie, like a Sharknado level horror movie?
Below that, if you can believe it.
Below, there's a level below Sharknado.
This film has more acting in it than porn.
And porn, they're acting a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But like with anything, like I always bring up with the Conjuring movies, if you dump money into a horror film, it can be really scary. And I feel like that might be what they're doing with these It movies. I mean, I hope. I can hope.
Like I said, yeah, because I mean, I'm watching the commercial, and I'm, unlike my daughter, I'm not afraid of clowns. I mean, my daughter's terrified of clowns. So I get her for birthdays and Christmas presents. I get her pictures of 100 scary clowns and stuff like that. She throws it away, but it's the commercials look so good, for lack of a better term, you know. And it's like,
it looks scary.
It's drawing me in, and because that was the last one I read, and it was, you know, it's one of the books that I really enjoyed, and then got so pissed off when I watched the movie version. I'm terrified, to go see it. Not that it's going to scare me. Because I don't want to sit there and be so disappointed again.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
I think the aesthetic looks like it's trustworthy. You know what I mean? Like from when you see the trailer, you're kind of like, that's a fucking crazy take on Pennywise. You know what I mean? Like the way they designed the clown for this one. I mean, for as much as the TV movie sucked, it did give us that Tim Curry performance. You know what I mean? So there is like the same way that you kind of like, you really shouldn't
also
follow.
gave us John Boy Walton though, so.
But in the same way that you shouldn't follow up Jack Nicholson with a Steven Weber, it's sort of like you set up the stage. There are people who dress like that character and just randomly walk around, and it fucking horrifies everyone. So the iconography there is kind of like sacred in a couple ways, I think.
Right.
From the way they're handling it.
The remake of Carrie they just did was a studio quality one where they put money into it too. So.
True, good point. Which I keep forgetting that they did that. I almost like that's how little attention I paid to it. I'm like, oh, what the fuck are they talking about? Oh my god, with Hit Girl. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and the thing I couldn't get past with that is she was so pretty. Like she would never ever be bullied in high school. She would rule that high school. There would be no story.
Yeah. Like the stretch is too much to begin with. Like, what the fuck? Ugly her up. Put some glasses on her and knock a tooth out. Use a computer. Use that shit. You've got it. Use it.
Or method act like Shia LaBeouf tried to do in Fury and really scar yourself.
Well, that was.
He's trying to method act that he's not crazy.
I was gonna say that was his Illuminati.
That's the real method acting, that he's a sane human being.
Yeah.
His Illuminati programming is breaking down. He doesn't know what to do. The android has lost control.
I trolled him once on Twitter, and he retweeted it like 5 times.
That's awesome, dude.
And it's
That's awesome. Why
does
does
I
that
even
not
realize
surprise
this is a piss take?
I would screen capture it, share it everywhere. Like, this is fucking cool.
I just kept commenting on the end of it, that video when he did the crazy clap. I love that. I just kept retweeting that to him repeatedly.
That video is so funny. The Shia LaBeouf song is amazing.
Yeah.
You're walking home from your car, and there's Shia LaBeouf. You're like, what?
Shia LaBeouf. What the?
That's so good.
The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw the same thing, but I read that when he gets asked for one of his books to be made, he asks who's going to star in it, who directs it, and how much he's going to get paid. And if all things get checked off, those 3, he says go for it. So
I think I know which one's the most important out of those 3.
Yeah,
exactly.
Holy shit.
So it's like, plus who are you to ever turn? Like, I would never turn down a movie being made of anything I write.
That's the whole thing. It's like the guy this was how he made a living. It's almost in the same way it's from that famous moment in the Metallica Behind the Music from VH1 where Jason Newsted is like, oh yeah, we sell out every arena we play every night. It's like, dude, this is the gig. You know what I mean? He wrote the book. He made as much as he can make off the book without turning it into a movie. Now they're turning it into a movie. Like, there's really nothing to begrudge. What you begrudge is like not. I mean, to me, I would think especially if I really loved the particular book they were doing, I would want to play a very active role. Like, I want to exec producer. I want to have like final say on who gets to play the parts. Like, I'm not going to just fucking be like, oh, let me show up at the theater and see what the fuck they did with my novel. That to me is a little crazy. And supposedly that's kind of how he is with some of them.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what he had to do to get that stuff out there initially. The thing is he doesn't have to do that now. He's not, because, like, for instance, I mean, I can say I've got one of my pieces being looked at.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
I keep having these meetings with this guy, and I have to afterwards go, are we looking at the same book?
Oh, yeah.
Because he starts talking about stuff that they're interested in doing, and I'm like, where? How? What part of the book is this in it? Okay.
Oh, we just thought it made sense. We kind of wanted to spruce it up a little bit, make our version. We're interpreting. We're interpreting here. It's an adaptation.
And the thing is, all I can say is, I mean, every time we finish and we're in these meetings, I say, okay, all right. Hey, if you can bring this to film and you think that's going to work, then great. Because, I mean, right now, my book to film credit ratio is, 0.
It's all about getting the first thing that'll get you the next thing with more power for the next thing, I think is what I've
Exactly.
heard.
So, I mean, if people say, well, aren't you concerned that they're going to change your story? Nope. I mean, there's a part of me that goes, but that's not what I wrote. But then the other part of me says, but if this is going to be a paycheck,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah, the other part of you can be bought.
Yeah, exactly. Because see, then people can be like I was, because I saw The Shining and then read the book. See?
Yeah.
So I saw The Shining in the theater when it first came out, and that was like, ooh, I've got to go get that book. So I grabbed that book and I hid it from my mom so she didn't know I had it. And then I started reading it. And then I got through that book and I was like, is this the same one? I mean, it was so not what King wrote, but same thing with Carrie, but now, and so if that's what somebody wants to do to my stuff to get started, then I'm going to sell it. I am a hooker, and I'm not even an expensive one. I'm not even an expensive one. I'm one that's wearing a skirt that's 2 sizes too small with a mid-ref shirt, my belly hanging over, and I'm only $10 because I'm missing half my teeth on the right side.
Yes, you're the hooker from Full Metal Jacket. Let me love you long time.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
I'm so horny, baby. I'm so horny. I don't know, man.
If it turns into something and I can start saying that I have a name, then I will probably be a lot more picky with something else coming down the line.
I mean, to me, I think it seems like we almost feel like we would have to apologize for a lucky break or success when it comes in the form of like, well, we'll take your name for the thing and we'll keep some of the character names the same. But, don't be surprised if a lot of this middle part here gets kind of like scooped out, remixed around, some of it left out, some new shit put in, and whatever, man, fuck it, be a team player and we'll take care of you. Like to me, that seems like the path of least resistance, and why the only person I can see who would have anything to say about that is someone who wants the same shit but won't admit it. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of these kinds of weird situations where we suddenly are like, oh my God, I have to fucking explain myself for taking a fucking paycheck. Why? Do you have a family? Do you have a fucking house that you live in? Do you have a roof over your head? Fuck that. Who's fucking saying shit that like would affect any of those things? Like, to me, I kind of, in the same way that I'm like, oh, fuck it, take my shit, make whatever you want out of it. Just give me the fucking credit that I was associated with the idea. You know what I mean? And that way I'm known for like, I come up with ideas like that. Even if it's not 100% what you saw, I guarantee you if people liked what they saw, you could still put that book in stores and say, now a major motion picture, and it's your original book. And so now both versions are out there. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like there's always a way to make the fucking thing work.
Readers take ownership. Yeah. I think readers take ownership of stories, and so when we read these books, we see it through our own filter. And I mean, one time I just threw a random post out and said, hey, cast this one story that I wrote. And I had people arguing over characters. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. First of all, stop, calling each other names and telling each other you're unfriending each other and you're going to blow each other's houses up. I was just saying, hey, if we put some faces together and decided it would be fun to have a fantasy casting, who would you pick? It didn't mean you had to fight over it. And I think that's what happens is, we go into a King movie if we're fans. And like for me, I mean, The Stand is something that for me is almost, hallowed reading, because that's the book that when I read it in the 70s made me want to be a writer, And so I cast that in my head. And when I saw the realized version of it, it didn't match my version. And so there was that disappointment. And I think we go into these things with our own preconceived notions. And I think part of the problem we go into King stories with is we expect them to suck. We expect them to get butchered.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, probably Stephen King not liking the original Shining helped the movie back then, because that was controversy on the film, so people had to see the film to see why he didn't like it. Nowadays, because Stephen King is now a legend, whereas back then he was just some writer guy. Now he's a legend. People take his side over the evil film studios take on his property. It's now a hindrance when he comes out and says he doesn't like it. What I find amusing is he likes it up until the premiere, and then if the fans don't like it, he immediately hates it.
Yeah.
It seems like he's swayed by his own readers when they go and see a movie.
What was his take on the sort of immediate shut the fuck up? I can't believe this is what you guys did for the Dark Tower, because I haven't been following the press past the horrid reviews because I was like,
everything I had saw going up into it, he stopped talking about the movie a couple of months out, and I think he stopped talking about the movie when the final cut of the movie went from 2.5 hours to, is it 94 minutes?
94. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Including credits right there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
So-
right? Like, what the fucking fuck? Something they were going to make a whole season of a TV show out of in a 94... Like, that right there is... I think, I mean, clearly with this one, I think the evil movie studio sort of verdict is probably much more accurate.
Even a 2.5 hour version isn't like everybody who knows anything about the Dark Tower is like, oh, that's a very long series. Like 2.5 hours ain't bad.
Yeah, especially for for the first book. The first book is the shortest book, and it's the one that still has a lot of crazy shit in it that you're like, I don't even know like how they would make this movie and not have it be like an NC-17 or like at the time they were rating movies X for like extreme violence. Like I think Total Recall almost got an X rating when it came out because it was considered, which, you know, watched that and you were just like, what the fuck was everybody talking about? This wasn't that bad. Three Tits did this to everybody.
Paper mache boobies.
Yeah, they were just like, oh my god, everyone's gonna want 3-titted women. We have to make this X-rated. Jesus.
Decade by decade absorption of what we find, you know, acceptable. I mean, original Night of the Living Dead went through the same thing. They were going to rate it X just because a black actor slapped a white woman. I mean, you know.
Yeah. We're almost on the way back there. We're almost on the way back to that shit. So let's keep an eye on that, you know?
Yeah, you're
Fucking
talking
world.
What, 20 years ago, you wouldn't get much in the way of sex on British TV. And now, as long as after 10 o'clock everything goes, like every second TV programme on UK TV, someone's calling someone a cunt in it. You know what I mean? It's like some old granny talking to her husband, you cunt.
Oh my god.
British telly now.
I'm ready to move. That's awesome. Just for the
Just watch reruns of the first 2 seasons of Nip Tuck. We had that whole sort of over the edge. That's what Spike and FX became for us. I mean,
true.
Now we've got shows like You're the Worst, and
You're the Worst. Holy shit.
I mean, remember when Law and Order, the guy was going to moon this boss and he got fired, and it was like everybody cared because they were going to show a bare ass on television and it was some big event. Now it's, who cares?
NYPD Blue. I remember NYPD Blue.
Dennis Franz.
Yeah, of all the people to break that fucking barrier, him and David Caruso. David Caruso, ow! You know, sunglasses. David Caruso started out showing his bare ass on NYPD Blue. Yeah, there you go. I mean, a bare ass. Oh man,
that's a guy that had a stellar career after that, wasn't it?
I think if we get back, you know, just for going back to what they've done to King, you know, look at some of the ones that start with so much promise, like you were saying, how they start off so good and then fall apart. Because really, Pet Sematary starts off with a really good first half, and some of the ending. I mean, when the kid, you know, kind of goes off the deep end. I mean, they didn't do a terrible job with the first Pet Sematary. It could have been better acted, but, you know, he put some named character actors. I mean, Dee Wallace was still riding high as kind of the adult matron of the Scream Queens when she did that film. You know, I mean, you got a kid getting blasted by an oil truck, you know, crossing the street, and you see the shoe bouncing down the road. I mean, that was pretty visceral for back then. And then, of course,
David Lynch just did an homage to that on Twin Peaks. I think that was fucking crazy. It was very close. When you think about That for the time, especially, that was like they might as well kill the fucking kid doing that. You know,
that's also it. We always have to say for the time, because you know, if you watch, like for instance, I sat down a few years ago with my daughter who had never seen The Exorcist, and we got done with it, and she went, and you know, and you know, I mean, the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, so I think it takes more to scare us. And King, I don't think was ever, I mean, his books are classified as horror, but it's really mind studies. I mean, he's really about what's inside your head. You know, I mean, he has a couple of out there moments. I mean, Salem's Lot had a few, The Stand had a few, all of his books have a few of them, but it's real psychological stuff, I think, and which doesn't play well on screen.
Yeah,
right.
Because you're not in their head. They have to do it all with facial expressions. And if you're not glued to it, and that eyebrow twitch to you didn't mean what it meant to him when he did it on screen, we sit there and our way.
Right. No, that's a perfect point to go back to. Like, you have no character development. So what does his books fit into easiest? It's a horror genre in film. And especially back when they were making a lot of his movies, the 80s and 90s, with the slasher, the B horror films, they cost a penny to make, and people would go to see them. So that's what you do. It's the best genre as far as cheap filmmaking, and unfortunately, that's what he falls into with his books, whether they're horror or not.
I think it's more also that not that there's no character development. He actually has pretty awesome character development for characters. He was sort of the first George R.R. Martin out there. I remember reading books going, oh, fuck, and he just killed him. Like, God damn it. Like,
oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean in his books. I meant the films. The films.
No. But, yeah, so the problem becomes, if you're going to try and cram a whole novel into a 2-hour movie with no plans of sequelizing, no plans of doing it as a part one, and I feel like there was a period of time in like the 70s and the 80s where they could just do that, and if that was the plan, it was the fucking plan, and it would be like the first one would come out, and a year later the second one would come out, and that was just fucking it. It wasn't like this, let's put it out, and then if it doesn't make $50 billion the first weekend, we pull the plans for the shit that already started, and then you have this whole cult following develop, and they go, why the fuck didn't you make the second one? And it's like, oh, well, too bad we're making this other thing now. And it's like his shit, if they weren't planning on doing it as a series of films, was too much for one movie. But then if they were going to do it on TV, which is the only place where you would have the real estate to stretch out enough show space to kind of try, they would have to water everything down. It was like there's almost like no perfect mix unless you're going to go to like an HBO or a Showtime. And I feel like they only recently
got a multi-season deal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the fact
look what they did in the televised version of The Mist.
I haven't watched the Sci-Fi Channel version one, or is it Spike?
It's on Spike, and it's like Stephen King meets Sharknado when you're talking about the effects are god awful.
Shit, really? Yeah. See, I haven't watched it yet.
The effects are. You're gonna watch. You're gonna be
I should not be freaking out because we do actually cover it at the Hollow9ine Network, and I know my friends Jennifer and Sean like it. So, or Carolee, and they say they love it, but I'm like, dude,
it's supposed to be a parallel story, so it's not even the one that you're following in the book. They've parallel stories.
Sick.
Now I definitely don't want to watch it. That's some bullshit right there. That movie, I thought
and remove the title. Like, it's not The Mist then.
Yeah, call it Stephen King's. Like, The Mist doesn't take place in Castle Rock, right? Where the fuck is? I think it just takes place in Bangor, really somewhere in Maine. Like I was gonna say, just make like a collection of things. Call it Castle Rock Stories, and it's all these little.
Coming out next year.
Motherfuck! Really? God damn it!
That's a TV series coming out next year.
Be working in this goddamn industry.
I can't remember her name. Melanie something.
This is almost like Mark Maron describing his idea for a movie to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, dude, I saw that. It's called Back to the Future. I just finished."
Yes, in that Netflix series Glow. Yes,
I was like, "God damn it!"
I'm sitting there going, are they going to say that this is the guy that invented the movie Back to the Future? And then when that scene happened, I just about fell off my couch.
I mean, like, how many times has that happened to all of us? You know, every single one of it happened live right now on this fucking podcast a second ago. I mean, my God. It's like, I don't know. And I feel like that's what his ideas are. Doesn't he say there's a whole period of time he doesn't remember writing half of his novels because he was such an alcoholic and such a cokehead that it's like, okay, I could totally see that then. You're at a party, you're fucking wasted, and you're like, oh man, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then you get home and you're trying to remember what you said when you were talking to your friend, and you write it down, you only get about half of it, and then when you come out of it and you try to like tie it together, it's just like, ah, fuck, let's just add 100 pages and just end it. And just like, I'll just stop, and that'll be that. And it's like, oh, dude, so like if you read those novels and felt that way, already going into it, you're like, I hope they do something better with the ending. You know what I mean? It's like going into Watchmen going, I can't wait to see what they do with the ending. Like with his, you're like, I hope they fix the end.
Yeah.
The Mist was something that I had a lot of hope for because I'm one of those people that really got a kick out of The Strain.
See, I thought, watch The Strain. I hear it's awesome.
Oh, you got to start from episode 1 and just go with it. It's just, it's well done. It's well done. Now, I did not read the books it's based on, so I don't have that hindering me. And I mean, and I've gotten to that point now. I mean, for instance, with The Walking Dead, I stopped reading it once it looked like they were going to start renewing after season 1. I was like, oh, I don't want to read any further because I already saw that they were doing a couple things, and I'm like, okay, who the hell is Daryl?
I also wasn't impressed with the artwork of that comic book at all, and it was like very hard to read after being used to like Marvel and DC. It just felt like it was like, dude, this looks like somebody fucking did this in their garage. You know what I mean? Like the way you would say that about a movie almost, but you're like, come on, man, get some people to draw. I know. Put your tweets down, everybody. You can send me email on that. I'll give it to you guys on my Facebook page. Don't overload Drew's box with me talking shit about the Walking Dead comic book.
Don't worry, I've already offended him, so I don't watch the show. I don't even give a fuck.
I tapped out. Does anybody still watch it? Do you guys still watch it?
I forced myself to binge the last season because every year in Long Island, I actually get invited out to a convention out there, and I speak on a panel about it because when I was really into it, I proposed the idea for a Team Rick versus Team Shane, always comparing like the leaderships of the multiple groups on the show. And it was one of they really liked the panel. It had a really good turnout. So I was like thinking, oh, fuck, this thing's coming up, and I really haven't watched the season. So I took a weekend and I watched all of season 7, and I was like, fuck, man, I would have been so pissed if I watched this week to week. Like binging it, I can stomach it more. It's like
I tapped out season 7. I couldn't do it anymore. It became a chore. I wasn't enjoying it.
It's shitty. It's not good. Like it was like for me, it was a chore because I was going to be on that panel. But you're just like, what the fuck, know?
I binged to catch up the end of season 6 so I could see the premiere of season 7. The premiere episode is great. Second episode was a Carol episode. I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm not doing another Lost.
Season 3 or season 4, it was like a really shit series nobody liked. I tapped out at that one. That was it. I was like, man, fuck this.
I liked the first 3 seasons I liked because they were all different enough. And then after that, season 4 through 7, to me, it just felt cyclical. It was the same storylines popping up. Oh, look, they found another community. Oh, look, they destroyed that community. Hey, look, they're fighting with a guy. Oh, yeah. Another community. It's like, go fuck yourself.
It's like you can't find a community. It's almost like it felt like levels of a video game. You're like, oh, you found the next community. Guess what that comes with? Another big bad.
A lawn. Like, oh, great.
It's like
for me, it felt like
new governors, man. New governors. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, here's a polar bear. Why you? Fuck this.
Hey, you found a hatch, and now you found another building that has the same kind of picture on it. We're literally gonna keep doing this shit for fucking 6 seasons. We're gonna.
But at least Lost had like this mystical quality going on with it.
Yeah, the mystical quality was the writers didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Like, how do walkers keep sneaking up on them? How long have they lived in this world, and they still can't figure out the speed at which they like?
How's that guy still 500 pounds? You
guys, one's talking about Walking Dead and one is talking about Lost. Now, to segue all this back to Stephen King, originally Stephen King sold the showrunners of Lost the rights to do The Dark Tower for $19 because he felt of all the people he had ever encountered in the world of storytelling and entertainment, he felt like Lost was this like super cohesive. I mean, and I think I would agree to a certain extent. Through the first, I would even give it 5 seasons. I was like, these fuckers are super smart. They are definitely tying all this shit up. This is crazy. I can't even imagine how you would write like this. Then, of course, they fucked the whole thing up in their last season. But even during, because you could tell he wrote Under the Dome while he was watching Lost. He makes so many Lost references in that novel. He even proposes an idea for a sequel series to Lost. And it was just like, he kind of even had Lost type things happening in Under the Dome, to the point where I was almost like, dude, are you fucking joking? Like, can we just fucking end this shit? And it almost kind of pissed me off a little bit. But I actually thought that of all the people who might have a chance of translating The Dark Tower, the guys from Lost would probably be it. Damon Lindelof, Carlton Hughes. I curse their names a lot these days. It's very rare that I'm kind of throwing them props in anyway. But I had a lot of hope when I had heard that. I was like, oh, fuck, maybe this thing will really happen. Because at least they were able to negotiate for Lost to be however long they wanted it to be. They're like, we want fucking 6 seasons. That's what we need. That's what we're going to do. So you got guys who are already pushing the button, and they're having a lot of clout. If they were going to have to push the envelope even more to do some of the shit they were talking about doing, because they were going to try to do a very close translation, a whole season for book 2. Like, holy shit, drawing of the 3, an entire like HBO type season of a show. And I think they were talking about like a premium network carrying it, like Showtime or HBO. So it seemed like the recipe was coming together. And to think that it was that close at one point, then went back into development hell and came up, and when it finally surfaced, it's a fucking barely a feature-length film. Like, it's the most it's almost like electing President Trump. It's the most obvious that, like, yeah, there's some shit that literally doesn't care about people, guys. Like, we might as well not exist. This is just, they're just throwing this out there because they like the title. They know we'll just buy it, but holy shit, really? This is what they're giving us? I don't know. I mean, I would say I would want them to keep making more, because they supposedly have it set up for the next one to be like a 2.5-hour movie, whatever they wind up doing, because it's not. They
left 80 million worth of filming on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? They got to restore that for the Blu-ray. That I would look forward to.
The problem that they continually run into is you've got these executives sitting in, towers that don't watch movies anyway, and they're the ones saying, well, it's too long. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, they're right, because I'll come out of a movie that was just, balls to the wall good, and then somebody will go, well, it was okay, but it was like 2 hours. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
And what's the problem?
I'm not ready to give up on that being a normal. I've always thought a movie wasn't a real movie if it wasn't 2 hours long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, anything that's 90 minutes, you put it, it's going to be a comedy.
It has to be a comedy.
Porky's is 90 minutes long.
Even.
Yeah.
Porky's is 90 minutes long, and then Schindler's List is 2.5 hours. I mean, and that's how it should be. I mean, nobody wants to
laugh. I was going to go for the obvious joke of they both have shower scenes, but I thought that was a little too far.
He still snuck it in. That's genius.
That is a genius joke.
Expertly done.
This is why I'm not on television.
Fuck it, man. Terror Firma TV right here. But I remember even like when Schindler's List was out, when they put it out on tape, it was on 2 tapes. Like, that was considered a long movie. You know what I mean? There were only a few of those. Spartacus was on 2 tapes. The Stand.
Do you remember when Schindler's List came out in the theaters? What kicked its ass on opening weekend? Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Well, I mean,
what's that say about our movie watching?
That we don't want to be depressed for 2.5 hours sometimes. I think that's
I think I saw both of them in the cinema, but I'm pretty sure I saw Beavis and Butthead first.
Ready for this? I still have not seen Schindler's List.
Me neither.
Well, I've somehow skated through life without catching that.
I studied parts of it in film school, so I feel like I've seen.
I've seen bits and pieces.
For seeing Liam Neeson not doing Taken. Liam Neeson, because that's what he does in movies now. He could be in a chick flick and he's still the guy for Taken, Cause
exactly. He's actually a good actor sometimes. Like The Grey, did anybody see that?
I
that was
heard
actually
it was awesome.
A legit film. Like, shocker. After the TV series, it's still laugh.
Shocker. I did see Shocker with Mitch Plug. Not a legit film.
It was also the bomb in Darkman. I'll just throw that out.
Yeah, right.
Oh God.
Dark Man, dude. Dark Man. Oh.
If I interviewed Liam Neeson on my show, that's all I would talk to him about. Darkman.
Dark Man? Be like, dude, how did that shit happen?
I've had to see Love Actually like 6 times now because my wife likes to watch it every Christmas. So fuck him. He's talking about Darkman for 2 hours.
Like, did you get to pick that it was a pink elephant? Was that like something you added to the scene? Tell
Was
me
it
about.
fun getting the bandages put on every day?
Just $5. Watch the Dancing Freak. Did you come up with that? Do you say that around the house? Totally Chris Farley him. You know what I mean? Like, when you said this, was that true?
Why is your fight double in a lot better shape than you? Stupid. It's quite obvious he's just like a guy that's half your height wearing a wig.
Doing a good job.
Oh shit. Oh man, so Stephen King movies suck for what reason? many reasons. They make us talk about other movies for one. Like we don't talk about that movie for very long.
I did a poll in my email list. Now I have an email. This will shock people. I have an email list that's got 16,000 people in it.
No
if any of them ever watch anything, but I have an email list with 16,000 people in it. And I
That's
asked
a big list.
the best Stephen King adaptation. What do you think it was?
The Mist.
Is shit.
Yeah, I'm kind
It's
of.
got to be Shawshank, right? Can people really?
Green Mile, maybe I would say.
But it's got to be one of those, right?
Oh, Stand By Me, maybe.
It was the fucking Running Man.
The one that's like so not like the book at all. Oh, that's good.
Fucking sums up my audience.
We didn't understand.
Ventura.
He's probably the biggest actor that's ever been in Stephen King.
Like we didn't understand the question. We thought, which one did we like the best? Like, yeah, I guess kind of that's maybe sort of what it was about, but not really. I don't know. Fuck. Do you guys read? Do you guys read? Do you read books?
On the flip side of that, that is in the development stages again, but this time a more faithful adaptation.
The Running Man?
Yeah, supposedly Russell Crowe's attached to it.
Just starring Colin Farrell.
Oh my god!
By the time it comes to the screen, it's going to star Will Ferrell, so you know.
Yeah.
And Colin Firth, just to make it interesting, Colin Firth shows up as like the Killian part.
For the last 5 minutes of the movie, Colin Farrell takes his face off and he's Johnny Depp.
This is all Total Recall. We're all doing Total
just
Recall.
Totally fucked over that Harry Potter spin-off thing for people, but I don't care.
Oh, there's a spin-off? Oh, that's that Beasts thing.
That happens at the end of that. Colin Farrell takes his seat off and he's Johnny Depp.
Nice.
Spoilers.
There you go.
That movie was spoiled by me having to see it.
Yeah,
I watch a lot of trash films, and that's one I still have not yet watched.
Yeah, I'm off that train like completely.
You seriously have to cleanse your palate with something like Raiders of the Lost Shark after seeing that film.
I've never been suicidal after watching a film until that.
Wow. I kind of felt that way after the first Cabin Fever.
I felt nostalgic for the snuff film I saw after watching Raiders of the Lost Shark.
Oh my God. Man, what are you? Are you the guy in 8mm watching snuff films? Hi, I'm on a secret mission from some poor mom whose daughter disappeared by being hired by a rich lawyer. I need to watch a bunch of snuff films. You know where I can find some of those.
Unfortunate. I got invited to what turned out to be a stag party of someone I didn't know. The only person I knew at it left 5 minutes in when I was at the toilet. So I was stuck at a party, but the guy who was my ride home was gone. God.
That sucks.
And they put a movie on, and it was a snuff film.
Jesus Christ! This is a stag party. This is like what kind of fuck? This was like actually probably steps away from like a Freemason, True Detective, fucking. It was
one of those moments where you didn't look around too much because you were scared someone was off at the side.
You're just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh god.
This is actually killed types.
This is actually happening. This is actually happening everywhere. Fuck. Club vendor sex.
Faces of Death
like
through 3.
I'm in Hostel 93 or what the fuck it's up to.
Yeah. I liked Hostel the first time. I don't know, I liked it. I still like it.
I think that the torture element of Hostel was having to watch it.
I remember I was really, really high watching it for the second. Like I watched it the first time and I was fine. And I was going, what the fuck is everyone talking about with this movie? And then I was blasted and I was alone and I was watching it and I'm like, this is fucking psychotic. Like I actually was having a fucking panic attack from it. Like the part where he's being dragged through the hallway and like looking through the different rooms and seeing people getting all fucked. And I'm like, this is happening to people right now. While I'm watching this goddamn movie, this is probably happening to somebody right fucking now. This is horrible. I cannot believe. But I didn't stop watching it. Obviously, I just kept. The movie will end at some point. Then my panic attack will be over. But holy shit!
I came to Eli Roth's defense on Twitter over it by saying it was a pussy version of torture horror, and I put a trailer up for this Korean film where they cut people's fingers off and then staple them back on repeatedly for like 20-minute sequence in this film. They're just going around these 10 people cutting fingers off with pliers and stuff, and it's got no plot to this movie other than people are getting tortured. And you're like, you're like sitting watching it going, I'm sure a story's going to happen at some point. And then credits roll, and you're like, okay.
Well, I think this was evidence from something. Yeah. I don't think this is an actual movie.
Well, I need to watch a Pixar film now to feel okay about myself.
I'm going straight porn to cleanse from this one. Like, I need to see human sexuality now. It's the only thing that will get me over what I just watched.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through that, you're going to realize that somebody considered that human sexuality in their own version of porn, and then it's going to ruin porn for you.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
When that first crash.
Huh. Wow.
How many Children of the Corn movies have you guys seen?
I've seen.
There's a ton.
Only the first one.
Like, literally all of them, because I watched all of them for a podcast episode I appeared on with someone who was reviewing the series. That fucker owes me money.
That's dedication. That is dedication. I hope when I have people on to the movie podcast that they've at least watched like the trailer for the movie before we start talking about it. Well, holy shit.
I don't think Ripka had, because he thought Daniel Craig was American.
Oh god, dude, that was hilarious. Really? I'm like not getting edited out. Fuck that. That has got to stop. Like, if you were brave enough to say that shit out loud, it's like going in.
He's more English than the Queen, for fuck's sake.
It's the first. He was like, he's the first American to play James Bond, and I was like, and then Drew's like, no, he wasn't, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on the IMDb page right now, and no, he is definitely British, bro. And
then I schooled him by saying Woody Allen was the first. So
that was hilarious. Are there any of the horrible Stephen King movies that you guys actually secretly like? Is there anything that's on your guilty pleasure list out of the list of ones that we're slamming? Like, I was gonna try to watch Dark Tower before we did this, just in the faint hopes that because I love True Detective so much, Matthew McConaughey would make me like the movie. But I was like, nope. You know what? I've read so much about how fucking like, even from what the story, what the breakdown of this first movie is, I'm just like, Jesus, this is. No, just like I'm not doing it.
I have like the list in front of me. I like the good ones. That's about it.
I quite like The Mangler, which is like a really bad movie, but it's got Robert Englund in it going so crazy.
Okay, I never saw that one.
He looks
and you got like Buffalo Bill in there too.
Like, he has the look about him like Christopher Lloyd and Who Framed Roger Rabbit going on. You know,
that was a cool movie when that fucking machine folds that lady up like folded her up like a sheet, man. I can't not see it. Folded her up like a sheet. And you're like, oh, dude, Buffalo Bill is sick from this. Say something.
Yeah, there was a couple that were just full on shit.
Like I liked
that's one to miss.
Like, I liked Dreamcatcher, and I know everybody fucking hates that movie because it's like, I mean, yes, it's fucking stupid. But if you're kind of if you want like a Twilight Zone-y kind of thing with like, you know, it's got the sort of element of like the school, the childhood friends, and they all wind up getting like a superpower when they're together. Like, there were a couple things to hang your hat on in that one, and
then they have shit weasels.
Yeah, that too. The shit weasel was kind of, see, that's the thing. Stephen King will throw those kinds of things into stories. Like, there's so many jerk off scenes in his novels. He's always got a character jerking off. It's like, dude, we get it. You don't have to admit it to the world anymore. Everybody is cool with it. We all get it. It
also has a there for a paycheck Morgan Freeman in it.
True.
He's not even acting.
Paycheck Morgan Freeman. I'm like
lines.
I like Thomas Sizemore. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he always tries in everything because he was getting in fuck all movies at that point.
And yeah, that was when he was in the sex tape, Heidi Fleiss, like all kinds of controversy thing happening too, I think.
Allegedly. Slapped about some hookers at that point as well, which was on tape.
No, yeah, and it got sold.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if you can see Eddie Munster or Herman Munster with a pair of coveralls on, speaking with a Maine accent, I mean, if you can sit through that, then Pet Sematary to me, like I said, at least the kid dies in the end. I mean, they don't Hollywood it up and let it all be nice and come out good, and of course the wife, she gets offed as well, so that's awesome. I mean, they at least stuck to the premise. I mean, this guy's life just gets dumped on, and they didn't fix it. They didn't Hollywood it up and fix it and let everybody come away happily ever after. And for me, I mean, I've sat there with people and they watch it and they go, God, that was stupid. But I love it. I mean, every time that kid's sitting there after he gets the injection and he's after scalping people's Achilles tendons and everything else, and he walks away from his mom going, "No fair, no fair," and I'm like, the kid's getting ready to die, and he starts staggering down the hall and bouncing off the walls, and I'm like, excellent. Nobody's gonna live. This is how it's supposed to be. This is Stephen King, and for me that was just and I still like The Shining only because I saw it before I read it.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as Stephen King's story anymore. I see it as Jack and Shelley Duvall's really kind of bizarre movie. And I don't have to be bothered by the fact that it, butchered a really good book. So I think those two I still like, even though, I mean, people just bash The Shining now. But when it came out, if you hadn't read the book, it was okay.
Yeah, I was the same way. I saw it before I read the book, and I still am able to, especially like with things like Room 237 on Netflix. Like, you're like, fuck, man, who knows what Kubrick was doing with his movies half the time? Maybe this is a coded message that he faked the fucking moon landing footage, and that he really is really upset about the genocide of the Native Americans. Like, fuck, man, if somebody can bury that in a movie and we didn't figure it out until now, shit, that makes me want to make movies even more. But I, again, would look at that and say, how the hell are you smart enough to do that? And that's the feeling I would have through about half of Stephen King's novels. Like, how is he smart enough to be telling this story like this? And
we got to see an actress develop mental health issues.
Oh my God. Yeah. Have you seen her now? Like, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh my, it is horrifying.
Sad.
Like, holy shit. Like,
she was an incredibly talented actress as well.
And she did so many movies after that too. Like, she did a lot of stuff after that where you're like, you wouldn't have imagined that this was going on. And to see her now, you're like, what the fuck? Hollywood destroys people. Yeah, you Googled it, didn't you?
Yeah, I made that mistake. Thank you very much.
Like, I guess we should have given you the spoiler alert. Like, it might change your life. Like,
that was the moment when we showed DK a picture of Kellyanne Conway went up for the first time.
That's a haunted vagina.
It looks like Mama June ate Shelley Duvall and then aged 30 years.
Yeah, it looks like a South Park character or something. You know what I mean? It's like, how, and so now you sit there and think about that. The Shining did this to you? Like, what the fuck happened? Did you guys sacrifice people on this shit where they're like rituals? Because you literally look like Shrek, like during the day and night that you changed into a monster. You're stuck in the nighttime monster version. What happened to you? Like, what happened to her? It's almost like a totally different person.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. So Stephen King, man, your books and your movies also do that to people. The people who are in there.
I went through the rabbit hole, as I said earlier. I watched about 25 of the adaptations.
Oh wow!
Including fucking Tommy Knockers, which, Jesus Christ, you watch the first 5 seconds of that and you want to kill yourself.
Yeah,
it's so bad. Like I'm watching Jimmy Smits running in slow motion, going, "What the fuck?" I don't remember this when it was me.
It all flew over our heads, man. All that stuff.
And you're watching it and you're like, yeah, this isn't the book at all. Yeah. What the fuck happened there? But then I watched stuff like The Night Flyer, which is a crap film, but the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I could fucking adapt this. It's actually a really easy story to tell. It's got a really easy beginning, middle, end, and it's a really easy story to tell. You just cast the guy that's a bit better than the guy they cast.
Yeah, that'll do a lot. I mean, like, have you watched Sometimes They Come Back? Like, that one's hard to watch. You're just like, Jesus. Like, it always feels like a student film project or something. Which, you know, I don't mean to talk shit about student films. That's like, this is obviously like everybody's got to cut their teeth somehow, but. Like, come on, man. You know, if that's the case, all of us should have taken over Hollywood long ago. But, you know, just by virtue of how fucking smart we are, you know what I mean? And so it's disappointing when you're like, you know that they're a resource. Like think about Langoliers. Remember when that shit was on TV? You know, like you had Bronson Pinchot in there and you had Dean Stockwell. These like that should have carried it alone. David Morse too. I forgot.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the special effects look like Pac-Man.
God, it was terrible. It was, and that was
in the plane. Like,
and was that like was The Shining? I'm not The Shining. I feel like The Stand was the first in a series of like every year there were at least 2 of those coming out, like made for TV Stephen King mini-series events. And
I think that's what jumped it. I think that jump started it, and I, think you're right. And it just the problem with made for movies is that they're made for TV.
Yeah, and like that, and for as much as they're cranking them out, which I guess is part of what's supposed to happen with TV, they were really like rushing to crank these things out. Like you almost got the feeling watching these movies, they're like, dude, they read the script once and then they're like, all right, let's go. And you know what I mean? Like you can tell there's like kind of like half remembering lines while they're delivering them and half reading them off a cue card, and then just being like, all right, look, we only had time.
First take.
Yeah, we had time for 2 takes.
The director's just sitting in a chair like this, smoking, going. That'll do. Next scene.
Yeah, we're going. We're moving on.
Come on, it's lunch soon.
For God's sake, dude, it's fucking Langoliers. It's Langoliers. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, there are some that I kind of feel like I've always, when I read them, you know, I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm not the only one. You're like seeing the movie of the book in your head while you're reading it, right? So there are some that when you're reading it, it almost feels like I'm almost seeing the sizzle reel. Like I'm taking images from other movies and putting them in here, and it's going, this looks fucking amazing in my mind. And they haven't touched some of these yet. And I kind of almost wish that they just wouldn't, but I also would love to see someone talented, like if a Frank Darabont was going to pick him up. I don't know if you guys have either heard of or read From a Buick 8, but that is a random one. I feel like that one only was sold at fucking grocery stores or something, because I don't remember it being displayed at Barnes and Noble. But it's technically a story in the Dark Tower universe, because the portal that opens inside the car supposedly opens into Midworld. So, you know, there are things that come out into our world from there. It could be such a cool movie. It takes place in the garage of a fucking small town Pennsylvania police station in like the early 80s or something like that. So it's like, it'll be a cool period piece. But everything we've said here tonight is the reason I'm like, fuck, yeah, they really can never make this. Because as soon as they do, it's going to be like, fuck, no, I can't even read the book again.
When it was made, Christine wasn't utter shite.
Yeah.
It was shite, but it wasn't utter shite.
It was watchable. It was silver bullet level.
the popular horror actor of the time and cast him in the nerdy geek role and ran with it. Yep. You know, I mean, if the movie comes out 2 years later, it's the kid that plays Evil Ed from Fright Night. I mean, it just
wow,
that would have been a great.
What they did is they grabbed the kid from The Burning. You know, they grabbed the nerdy kid from The Burning and said, "You're going to be the lead in our new Stephen King scary, and you're going to be a geeky guy that goes berserk." Oh, perfect. You know, and like I said, 2 years later, it's going to be Evil Ed from Fright Night. I mean, that's how they cast it, it seems like. And if they would really go after quality performers that could act and, you know, were actual marquee. performers. Like you got Tom Hanks for The Green Mile. You should be able to pull people like that more often.
Arguably,
But
they
recently not so much. Like when was the last?
What's that?
Like when was the last great Stephen King film that was made? Was it The Green Mile?
For theaters, like that was actually theatrically released.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I might be wrong in this, but I think the original casting for Christine was is it Anthony Michael Hall, whatever he's called, from The Breakfast Club, was the original casting.
Really?
Yeah.
He wound up playing the Dead Zone TV show. He was like the TV show, multi-season, formulaic, repetitive, stupid Dead Zone.
Well, they needed something to lead into La Femme Nikita.
True, right? All these like that was the time, I guess, like the UPN level of production was like a good enough, right? Everybody would just like there were enough people that would eat it up. They're like, oh shit, we're making 6 seasons of this. I remember like when they first started releasing shows on DVD, it was like, man, let's see what's out. And you would only buy the ones because you're like, all right, well, they're putting this out now. It's the only one that has 7. I might as well. I was always waiting for X-Files because it had 10. But like you start watching going, man, the fucking, I don't know. They probably couldn't even do a movie of this and make it good.
Don't try to rewatch season 1 of the X-Files.
Oh, dude, it's harsh. It's harsh.
I fucking tried to do that recently, and it was
even the mythology ones. You're like, fuck, man.
I talked that show up, something rotten, to my wife who'd never seen it, and I was like, "You're going to sit down. You're going to watch this. It's going to blow your mind." She watched the pilot, and she was like, literally 5 minutes in on her phone.
Yeah, I'm out. You have to do phone. You have to do no device when you're doing when you're showing people stuff like this for the first time. You have to be like, nope, device is down. Put it down.
It's a really hard sell to get to. You have to get to season 2 when David Duchovny no longer gave a fuck.
That's amazing. That's when the character took off.
That's when it gets good. When he's trying to get fired.
I want to make movies.
I want to do more Red Shoe Diaries.
I'm on Red Shoe Diaries. I'm around naked women all the time. It's where I developed my porn addiction that Taya Leone might leave me over.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Talking about allegedly, what about Apt Pupil? Because it was allegedly made by a paedophile, obviously, was where I was going with that.
That was, I mean, Brad Renfro in there.
Actually, Ian McKellen's performance in that is fucking top notch.
Yeah.
Well, and even, I mean, because didn't that come out right after Thinner hit the theaters?
Oh,
yeah.
God, I forgot about Thinner.
I've got the list here. I think it was
so
right
bad.
after.
I love that book. The Bachman books were good.
Yeah, it was literally the next year. Followed by Sometimes They Come Back for More.
Oh, that was wow! Really? It was a sequel. It was a sequel to Sometimes They Come Back. Wow!
I had no idea there was a Carrie 2.
Oh, I actually like that one. The Rage. Yeah, and they carry over the one friend who went to visit her grave at the end of the movie. She's the guidance counselor at the high school now. So when she sees the new girl who's dealing with issues and realizes like, oh fuck, she's got powers. Oh my god, you know, it's kind of that's the biggest. I mean, there's no other continuity other than that. It's fucking retarded. But it's like a stupid teen movie. You know, I watched it in college.
Let's be honest. Carrie is about Stephen King thinking a woman's time of the month's a supernatural event. He ain't just supposed to like chuck them in the water and see if they're a witch.
You put that out as a feeler, like anybody else? Just me?
Well, plug it up, guys. Plug it up and move along. I guess I'm alone on this shit.
Drop a bucket on their head and see if they kill you.
I mean, he definitely always. I think there's always an element of some female character having been sexually abused. There's a lot of mention of shit. Like I remember in The Stand, there were one of the girls or one of the people winds up on the council of the good people.
Yeah, Susan Stern.
Yeah, she was like held captive by these guys and like basically something right off of The Walking Dead, like repeatedly raped. And she's like, yeah, so you know, I had abrasions in my vagina. I'm going, yeah, I needed that to really make this scene like ring true for me, because that's what somebody would say who was in this situation. Be like, so you know, my dick's cut up like a motherfucker. I was raping people nonstop, so I've got raw shit, man. It's like I just gotta let that heal. Like, yeah, dude, that could like get glossed over. We don't need shit.
But also remember. And then Susan Stern was the lesbian.
True. after that.
Yeah. See, so So
He doesn't understand how life works. He only knows
that northeastern disconnect.
Yeah.
I think a lot of ladies, when he was trying to pick them up in the bar, went, "I'm sorry, I'm a lesbian."
I'm gonna
It's
write
easier
this.
than saying, "I'm not attracted to the guy from Mask."
I'm gonna write this into my book. That's not nice. That's not nice that you all say that whenever I come talk to you. I'm writing this into my novel.
Dennis.
I don't know. Maybe I
Still
did.
not doing this fucking show now, isn't he?
Oh fuck, my career is over.
But if you think of it, all the female characters in his books are either victims or psychopaths.
True.
There's no in between, really. There's not many heroines.
Right.
For someone who took heroin, there's not many heroines in
Yeah, I was gonna say what was the girl who was Roland's first girlfriend, Susan Delgado? She definitely became a martyr by the end of that movie, you know, or by the end of that book, which is that's the book they should have made the first movie out of, to be honest, the flashback book. But yeah, she was a strong character until the end when they fucking kill her. And in it, you know, they have to have an orgy with the girl in the group. You know what I mean? Like there's no getting through, even as like a bunch of little kids. He had to have them have this big sexual thing get rolled into
wake them up. Yeah.
And that's actually supposedly they're going to verge on tackling that in the movie. Like that's one of the big things that everyone always points to, like, oh well, you know, they were never going to be able to put that on film. Supposedly the new one is going to dabble in some of it.
Really?
So that's what I've heard. And
Sandwich is interested.
No, I'm thinking.
Don't you love when that
Like,
happens?
the disappointment factor. So you go to the theaters and they're all just going to be like holding hands, and that's how they like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, true,
Like,
true.
In a circle singing "Kumbaya." That's how they like.
You know, it's fun. It's just like when Samson suddenly had me pegged as like a psychopath on fucking throwing games. I'm like, dude, she made a face when she got knocked down. I'm noticing it. Get the fuck out of here. It's like you're like, oh, they're gonna do that. Yep. See, you picked up on it. We always reveal weird shit on podcasts. I guess.
Here's a question: why did they team up John Cusack and Samuel Jackson in Stephen King adaptations? Because none of them work. You got 1408, you've got Cell, which Cell is probably the worst out of all
I
the
just bought
adaptations.
that. I just bought that. I haven't watched it yet, but that's another one. The book was cool for the first third, started to fall apart and like started to meander in the middle, and then just completely fucking shat the bed by the end. And I'm like, fuck, at least the movie will somehow tie it up, you know?
His writing technique is still as strong as ever. He just doesn't have the same stories in him. But if you think in it, he's written what? 1 million books at this point. You know, they're going to start dwindling down.
He's even written books on writing books at this point too. So it's sort of like, oh geez, dude, you're really kind of tapping, you know.
Which is quite funny because the vast majority of that, he doesn't even fucking talk about writing. It's like, I bought that. I remember when it came out thinking, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be all the insights into how to be a great writer. And you're sitting, you're like, I don't give a fuck about your auntie.
Yeah.
Tell me about the fucking story.
How do you write a
all the
book?
stuff from the forwards that got cut out before the book would come out, because remember all of his forwards that said, to the reader, all the stuff that got cut out of all of his forwards from all of his previous books, and then decided to make it into a book.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's about what it reads like.
Who's going to direct it? Who's going to star in it? And how much you're paying me? We're going to do on writing, dude. I think you should star in it. Like, all right, fine. Do I get paid double then? That sounds good. Two paychecks. Okay.
I mean, didn't they turn Danse Macabre into a sort of a documentary style film?
I haven't seen it, but I had heard that. I mean, I think it's listed in his film adaptations.
Yeah. I mean, and if you saw that and thought he's going to tell us about how to create good horror, and then you read it and you're like, no, he's not.
I think there's a thing
like 1983 Stephen King to tell me how to write good horror, not 2017. That's just me.
I think
that's part
of why I like The Dark Half so much, because it's like a total examination of who's in control, the author or the character, you know, and like with the idea of like if one of your characters is like, hey, you're trying to kill me off, fuck you, bro, I'm coming into the real world. You know what I mean? It's like that's awesome. And I kind of feel like there's a lot of his writing where you could tell it's like really kind of him working out shit that he's worried about himself, a lot of insecurities and I guess things that all of us would probably have a lot more of when we're earlier in life than now. You know, I think it's probably a lot harder to do this when you're like, I'm already whatever I fucking write they're gonna do. You know, and even if I write something that's even got a shell of something cool, they're gonna just take it and make the shell into the movie. It doesn't fucking matter. You know, like it's a lot different when you're still kind of being fueled by the passion of it. And I would hope that at some point there would be something that would like reemerge from him that was on that same level. Like if he ever wanted to really wrap up, you know, the Dark Tower in a better way than writing like Wind in the Keyhole and then making this shitty movie, you know, or I don't know. There's fucking Eyes of the Dragon is just that thing that's floating out there. It's awesome that, you know, write more stuff like that. He always did have that more of like, it's not just horror. There's also like a fantasy side. He did want to kind of build worlds. But then everything just started taking place in like he tied everything to Dark Tower. Dark Tower is like his central universe.
Yeah, well, there's all these. If you watch these stupid fucking conspiracy Stephen King things on the YouTube, which don't watch because fucking hell.
Wait, it's him talking about conspiracy theories? It's like Stephen King?
No. It's people that have conspiracy theories. How you can link the vast majority of these titles together, including it
as part of the Dark Tower world.
Part of the Dark Tower, yeah.
Yeah, so he came from Midworld or one of the worlds that has died and wound up here.
It's basically a world that's a turtle, and he lived on its back, which sounds an awful lot like fucking Discworld to me.
Yeah.
So if that's true, someone's getting sued.
That's funny.
But yeah, what I find quite funny is everything that's been made in the 70s and 80s is now back slated to be getting made again.
Yeah.
It's an endless cycle of let's make it one more time.
And is there ever going to be a version that like people just rest on like, okay, this is the one. We don't need to make any more after this. Like, and I would say it almost looks like that's what they're trying to do. Like, this is the one from now on. Right. This is it. This is the it. They
finally have the ability because, you know, I mean, CGI when it first came out, everything looked like what you see on Sharknado now. But now they can seamlessly, if they've got the money behind them, make it part of what you're watching so that you're not sitting there going, oh, look, it's a computer shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. You know, I mean, they've taken these things to where they can actually bring them to the screen and turning them into something that you can sit through and not feel like it's cobbled together crap. So maybe the remakes, you know, we can just keep our fingers crossed that not only do they completely ignore most of what was done and try to bring us the stories that were on paper, but they can do it in a way that we can sit through and, you know, not feel like you've said a couple times. And again, nothing against college project films. I'd be thrilled if something of mine got turned into a college project film. So, but that's sort of, when you look at a film from 1978 to 1985 versus what you're seeing now, it's just, I mean, it's just not, there's no comparison, you know? And so maybe now they can actually do it. And if it works, maybe this brings somebody to the table that says, you know what, I want to do The Stand and we're going to run it on 10 seasons on Stars or HBO or Showtime or whoever the hell, so that we don't have to, you know, G-rate it for, you know, grandma, and turn it into something worth, you know, what the fans remember, you know?
Yeah.
That's the hope anyway.
So basically, if it is successful, that's a good thing. Very good thing for the rest of the Stephen King remakes. If it flops, you think they're doing a Mummy thing where the rest of the projects are kind of shoved under a mat?
Not touching those anymore. Yeah.
Well,
fuck Tom Cruise and his new,
I think if
you know,
it fails, the recently put into pre-production Shining is going to probably get cancelled.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah. I think if it face flops, then I think, yeah, 2 in a row. I don't think anybody wants to dump, you know, 20 million into something that's going to, you know, face plant. You know,
what
I
if,
want
like,
to do something that comes out successful.
What if, like, I wonder if somebody like James Wan took on like a Stephen King property, you know?
Yeah, well,
and
he's
what I'm saying.
one of the rumored people for the Shining remake.
oh, nice. There you go.
But the other people rumored for it are like, you know, shite folk like Eli Roth.
Shite.
Shite
tell,
folk.
tell me Roland Emmerich is on the list. Like,
No,
what's-
but
What about like Ty
the
West or
fuckwits
something?
that make the Transformers movies are on the list to be making The Stand, which is they're trying to make a trilogy of Stand movies. Because Michael Bay's the perfect guy to tell a story
oh,
with the characters
fuck,
on it.
really? Well, I mean,
So
like,
the
first,
main character is going to be a lens flare.
at least it's not Zack
Established
Snyder. I mean, at least it's not Zack Snyder. But fuck, man, Michael Bay. God damn it! Get Terrence. If you're gonna, you know what? If you're gonna get somebody to make The Stand, get Terrence Malick and take 20 fucking years and do it. But I guarantee you, at the end of that shit, you will be like, I never have to watch another movie again. Holy fuck! Like, holy fuck!
I
That was
find I find it fucking hilarious that these people get to do these projects now when Spielberg, coming off of Jurassic Park, couldn't get a Stand movie made.
That's fucking crazy. Wasn't he also attached to trying to get the Dark Tower made? At the,
Yeah.
I think it went to DreamWorks. You know, for a long time, Ron Howard was gonna fucking helmet. Like
Ron
holy
Howard
shit.
with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then Javier Bardem was even being looked at to
Yeah.
play the gunslinger. That would have been crazy.
I have a horrible feeling that Spielberg would probably had fucking Tom Hanks as the gunslinger. You know what he's like? He's in all his fucking movies. Forrest Gump propping up with his guns.
Yeah, jeez, really. Well, but
box of chocolates.
maybe he-
in the head.
maybe he'd put Gary Sinise. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep this team up going. Gary Sinise, and he would have Tom Hanks play like Eddie or somebody. Who I'm like, dude, this is supposed to be someone who's smuggling cocaine up his ass on a fucking commercial airliner in the '80s. Like, I don't see Tom Hanks pulling this off. He's got to be like a fucking kid, you know, like that Colin Farrell maybe could do. I don't know.
I think Colin Farrell's career died when he stopped drinking because he just stopped being interesting at that point.
And when was that?
That was just before the remake of thing with the Schwarzenegger film.
Oh, Total Recall.
Total Recall.
He went to rehab and got clean and hasn't drank since, and his films have been shit.
So you think he had good, like, up till that point?
Oh yeah, if you look at a lot of his Irish movies and stuff, he was good. He was in a TV show. I remember when I was like, I was a kid, so he would have been maybe 17, 18. He was playing this gay kid in this wee village in this weird Irish TV show, and he was like fucking brilliant in it. But he was like the campus guy in the world. You couldn't believe he would turn into the guy going around going fecky, 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 and all the interviews he does on TV. You know, when he grew out of that, he just became the most boring fuck on the planet. He's like a boring Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is interesting because he's crazy. He's
Crazy,
a
right?
Scientologist cult guy. So that's
Allegedly.
there's fucking no allegedly about it. That's a cult.
Yeah,
If
don't.
Scientology want to come after me, they can go fuck themselves.
We've gone
I've
clear.
got no money.
We've gone clear.
So that keeps him vaguely interesting. That and all like the rumors that him and John Travolta are a couple and all that shit.
Oh
So
my god.
that keeps him vaguely interesting. Whereas Colin Farrell's now this clean living married guy with kids, and you're like, well, that's fucking Matthew McConaughey, but Matthew McConaughey at least does naked bongo drumming in his back.
Yes. And doesn't wear deodorant. And
He does have weirdly short arms though, which is why I
McConaughey?
can't watch Matthew McConaughey in a movie. He's like this, and that's just fucking wrong.
See, I've never noticed that before, and now I'm
ruin
Google-
every Matthew
Google him right now,
McConaughey
and
film.
you'll notice it. His arms like come down to his waist, and that is something weird that's gone wrong there.
Oh my god, dude! Really? Like, I feel like I'm trying to picture True Detective in my head right now. Going, I don't feel like I noticed short arms, especially in that he's firing that giant machine gun. Holy shit!
It's like that. Oh, I can't remember what the actor's called. There's a British actor from the 70s who had a wee hand. Right? Literally, he had one hand that was normal sized and one that was wee. So in every scene, he like walks like that. So you can't really tell the difference in size. His hands are always like this. And the moment you notice it, you're like, fuck that. You shouldn't laugh, but it's funny when you notice it. Because you'd be so nervous about meeting him. because what hand do you shake?
Wow.
It's like a little baby hand.
I was gonna say all I'm thinking of is Chris Elliott in Scary Movie 2.
He's the strong hand child.
Grab onto my strong hand.
I might be wrong in thinking this, but does Anthony Hopkins not have a weirdly short arm on one side? And it's why he always has a bent arm.
Fuck. God damn it. Stop ruining all the people that I love, man. This is like, now I'm going to be like, watch these people like I'm looking for their freak
Just
part.
go through trailers of his movies and see if his arms are ever both straight. Straight or not.
If you've ruined Westworld for me, Drew, you're in big trouble.
Westworld is so good. Have you not watched it at all?
I just started. I think I'm on season or episode 7, maybe.
Oh, you don't have much. Yeah, I think you only have 3 left. It's only 10.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Holy!
I'm going to wait till it gets cancelled and then watch.
Dude, that chick.
That's how I watch TV. I just wait for shows to get cancelled and then watch them.
That blonde gunslinger Armistice with the snake tattoo is so fucking hot. She's like the reason I watch that show.
Who plays the Yul Brynner role?
Well, it's interesting because there kind of is no Yul. I guess, honestly, that's more like the Rodrigo Santoro part. But they made Ed Harris look like the Yul Brynner part, so when it was being promoted, everybody just assumed he was the Yul Brynner character. But what they actually did with the show is fucking cool. Like it's almost like I almost tell people don't bother watching the movie. If you never saw the movie, don't watch it. Fuck it, you're gonna hate it. If you like the show, just stick with the show. Because the movie was like so simple compared to this, and I feel like that's like an of the time thing, and I do feel like that.
Ever read the 1992 screenplay for the film that was going to get made? It was going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Yul Brynner role.
Whoa.
It was going to be Tom Cruise in the main character role. It was by James Cameron. So it's a James Cameron script. The script reads like it could be Terminator.
Of course.
It's
robots that go crazy and kill people. I'm sorry, that's my territory. That is my territory.
You're like, this should have been the one that came after, like T2.
Yeah.
You're like, this should have been T3.
Forget about time. Yeah, forget about Rise of the Machines, man. That was so bad.
But it's like, why is this little short guy going to be fighting Schwarzenegger in a movie? You're like, the fuck is that?
What they're doing on the TV show. What they're doing with the TV show is so cool. I kind of feel like it's thank God that nothing like that happened. You know what I mean? Like, thank God that just stayed hidden. Because the show is pretty, it's more epic than I actually was ever expecting it was going to be. Even from the first time you watch the opening credits, you're like, holy shit. All right. So this is like a West style Game of Thrones we got going on here. There's even little nods back and forth. You know, they definitely, throw a few Easter eggs in there to let you know that they're Game of Thrones fans as well. It's a good show. It's how I want to feel about the fucking gunslinger. You know what I mean? Like when you watch that show, it kind of makes it, oh, cool. They could do fucking Dark Tower. No, not the way they're doing it. Apparently, no, not today. Not this time. After 20 years of waiting for it, it's almost like Twin Peaks. Like we waited for 25 years. Holy fuck, Twin Peaks is back, and it's Twin Peaks. It's extra weird. Some people actually don't feel like it's Twin Peaks, but it at least isn't not what it said it was going to be. You know, this we waited 20 years for, and it just like, fuck. I don't even feel bad that I have a link to watch it through questionable means, and fuck them. I'm gonna do that shit, and I'm gonna just be like, I'm doing this just to say I did it.
Questionable means is that channel everybody seems to like on the internet.
Yeah,
someone should really turn that into
like it's the next Pirates Bay or whatever they call it. Pirates. What the fuck was is it Pirate Bay? The big torrent. Podcast Bay. No, there was the big torrent site was called Pirates Bay. Right?
Pirates Bay.
Pirates Bay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I know folk used to upload stuff to that was put viruses on your computer that would just spam your computer with shitloads of illegal porn.
you just have to get a new machine. Your machine's
so many fucking people would have get put on registers back in the day.
Oh jeez. Holy crap.
So that was you.
That's what happened.
Me, but it's people I know. I know shady people.
Isn't that what happened to Pete Townsend? You fucking did that to Pete Townsend?
No,
That's crazy.
When is that book coming out?
Pete Townsend just likes looking at.
I was researching. That
Yeah.
was like 6 years ago or something.
Yeah, we've never seen a project surface or materialize. It's funny. You know, it's funny. If you watch the Mist movie, in the beginning of that movie, Tom Jane's character is painting, and what he's painting is fucking Roland looking at the Dark Tower. I thought, like, all back then, it was like a, hey, by the way, anybody who knows what this is gets what we're doing here. Like, we're totally Dark Towering this shit up. I mean, supposedly the Mist isn't the whole idea that they broke through to the same thing, like to Midworld. So that's what the Mist coming through is, like, from this one particular spot in Midworld.
I might be imagining it, but I think there was a fucking comic book
Of the Gunslinger.
series that
Yeah.
no, that crossed the character Tom Jane plays in The Mist into that. Like, when
Oh,
he's
really?
walking through the fog at the end, he ended up in that world.
On the other side, whatever the Arrowhead project broke through. Because I thought the ending of that movie was pretty fucking awesome. I actually, when I saw it in the theater, there were some people that walked out on it right before the twist. Like, they walked out after he fired the gun and before the next reveal, and I'm just like, wow, those dumb fuckers have no idea what just, like, it would have redeemed it.
Why would you walk out of a movie with 37 seconds left? Like,
I think it was they were so disgusted by the fact that he would kill his kid, you know what I mean? Spoiler alert, that he only had enough bullets for everyone else in the car but him, and he still did it. And I'm like, well, I mean, what the fuck was he gonna do? You know, you're fucking surrounded by fog and monsters. It seems like the world's coming to an end.
It's mercy.
Yeah,
And his kid was a whiny wee bitch anyway.
Yeah.
Shot him in the arm.
I mean, it is ironic that he just saved him from being sacrificed at the grocery store and then wound up having to kill him. Again, and this is the ending that's just for the movie. The ending in the novella is much more like they get away and then they pick up a radio signal from somewhere, so that inspires hope, but there's still mist everywhere. It's not like the mist just blows away and the fucking army's like, yeah, we fixed it. Hey, we got that shit shut down. And maybe a little too late, like half your town is fucking murdered and people even killed themselves. Good job, guys. Waited 5 more minutes, you would have been fucking fine. But no, you see a giant monster, it's like, I'm checking out time. You know, fuck you. This is why we need the army. You bitches. They definitely closed that off from even having a sequel, you know, but I don't know.
What I always find amusing about it is he kills his kid in The Mist. The Mist makes no money at the box office. Viggo Mortensen fucking does it in The Road, and that movie gets fucking Oscar nominated.
Oh shit.
Have you sat through that film? That
No.
is a fucking
I actually haven't. No.
wreck of a movie to sit through.
I've been warned away
I've
from
heard.
that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck no, I'm not doing that.
I did, unfortunately, because I read the book and liked it so much, and I thought, you know, this is so simplistic. This has got to be an easy transfer.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie, and I was like, oh.
It's one of the few movies where I've sat and the whole time watching it being like, just fucking die already. Just fucking die. It's like, don't wake up when you're sleeping at this scene. Just fucking die.
I've been feeling you say that through most of the movies you watch.
There's gonna be a lot.
Most of the time I'm thinking that about the directors.
Fucking die before you finish making this. I don't want the metafiction to kick in. If you die while you're making this, me sitting here watching it will just cease. It'll just stop. That reality, that timeline will disappear. I won't even know what happened. I wonder if that's what deja vu is. Oh, somebody fixed the timeline. That's why I feel like I've done this before. I probably did. They just backed it up 30 seconds. All right, go for
So,
it.
I just
Do we have is
I just got
Documents
a
for
weird
Life watching? Do we have people watching and asking questions?
So I just had a
People-
weird
Oh!
email pop up in my sidebar, which was actually a question someone asking a bit fucking late, but
Not too late, obviously. We're getting it in.
apparently Joss Whedon is looking to adapt at Pupil.
It's like, why? What the fuck? Why? Why at Pupil?
Why take the obscure crap? Why not focus on some of his good stuff and really give it what it deserves?
do the fucking Langoliers.
Yeah, honestly, Joss Whedon doing the Langoliers would probably kick that thing's ass. You know what I
That's
mean?
kind of his level. He shouldn't be tackling drama.
Nah, I mean, like, what's the most Avengers-ish thing that's? I mean, actually, you know what? Bring him in to do the Wizard and Glass movie, but they'll never do any more Dark Tower shit now because this one does so bad. But
is he doing? I might say he's doing one of the DC ones at the moment.
I was gonna say, didn't they bring him in to consult on the next Justice League, on Justice League 2, because it's like falling apart, you know?
The director's daughter, not.
Oh
Daniel,
shit, that's right. Is that his daughter
something?
passed away? That's right.
And he's
Sure
come in
it's
to finish filming it
So
from the
that's fine.
storyboard. So it's just doing what the director had already set out.
Yeah, but I'm sure he'll wind up making it look a little more like Marvel. You know what I mean? Like, hey guys, just in
To be
case.
fair, the DC movies have looked a bit shitty.
Oh yeah, and
They
so
look
it's like
Sin City.
Maybe he wants to go down a level too. Maybe he wants to scale down a little bit after being in charge of all these giant fucking Marvel DC like.
well, didn't he not end on good terms when he left the Marvel situation?
Yeah, but that's just because you're never actually in charge of the movie. You're directing at Marvel.
But that's what I'm
Fucking
saying.
producers are in charge.
So he's going to come over and be like, by the way, guys, just in case you want to know, this is how you do one of these movies. And he's going to make the next Justice League, and it's going to feel like Avengers.
He directed Avengers the same way that certain person directed Poltergeist that wasn't Steven Spielberg. That's all I'm going to say about
that. Oh, no. This is the person who just passed away, too, also this week.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't wanting to fucking say his name. I realised I'd went down that fucking rabbit hole.
I was just rest in peace as we talk about your movie.
Because I couldn't pump out the allegedly at the end of it. Because who's going to sue?
I don't know. The estate might be listening. They might have their ears out for any mention.
Yeah. Well, what Stephen King property would you like to see adapted, and who would you like to see bringing it to life?
I kind of feel like, should we just take all the Dark Tower stuff off the table since they've shat all over it now, and it basically is. It's like fucking. It's like film AIDS. Like no one will touch it. They're like, no. Sorry, this shit is like that's gonna taint our theater. We can't show that. You know.
Film AIDS. I remember seeing someone put up a fake movie poster on Facebook recently, and that was supposed to be the name of Magic Johnson's documentary.
Oh my god.
Facebook is sick as fuck. Anyway,
seriously, it's the worst part of our human evolution. I want
an HIV prequel to that one.
Yeah. Oh god.
Charlie Sheen story.
Oh. Positive.
Tiger
Just call it positive. Positive. The story of Tiger Blood. I think the little known Stephen King novel called Eyes of the Dragon would be an awesome one for them to make a movie out of. But I'm saying that from the still coming off the high of Game of Thrones just ending, and so I would say people like them, like get like Dan Benioff and DB Weiss, and say, all right, guys, same kind of world. Medieval storytelling, but it's Stephen King, and maybe if you guys do a good job, you can take a crack at the Dark Tower afterwards. Oh my god, that's all I would be doing, is always trying to find a backdoor way for them to wind up making a good version of the Dark Tower. But we gotta set something up to open that pathway to a possibility.
I say remake Carrie a third time. I think James Wan, whatever the next Stephen King project is that's in the timeline, have James Wan do it and get some streak of successful Stephen King films out there. I really have a high hope for the It movies. If both of them are successful, James Wan do another one, and then you're on this train of successful Stephen King movies, and you have a formula. This is how you can do it, and then go ahead and do Dark Tower.
Yeah.
I don't even want to hope for The Stand. I'm kind of like where you are with the Dark Tower, because to me, I mean, that's, like I said, that's sort of my, I mean, for me, that's my writing hallowed ground. I would love to see them do Salem's Lot right.
Yeah.
They could do that right, and they could make it gritty, and almost give it sort of a retro sort of look to it, so that it's even somewhat grainy looking. It doesn't have to be super high def, and you don't have to go overboard with, you know, a bunch of effects. Vampires are easy effects wise, and
Don't make them glitter.
You know, take the story and do it right.
Yeah, Salem's Lot would have been my shot. So I will say Night Flare, because it's a piece of piss to fucking do that right. Easiest fucking story to do.
Isn't it just he's flying around talking on the radio the whole time? Like,
there's a vampire that has a fucking plane for some reason that goes to all these little shitty little urban airports and kills people while he's there, then fucks off to the next town. And there's a journalist that travels around trying to get the story of it. But it's literally, it's a very short story for a Stephen King. So it's easy to make into a 2-hour movie because you can actually add to it.
Crush on Anne Rice.
Wouldn't that be one of the perks of being a vampire, is being able to fly like yourself? Yeah. Instead of buying a plane.
It's a commentary on America and how we're fucking lazy. And like, even if we could fly, we'd still steal a plane.
In the film, when I watched it, the vampire has the exact same hair as Donald Trump. So that's all I could think from the moment I saw it. He's got Trump hair. That's fucking awesome.
Listen, my airline is going to be huge, and it's going to take me all around. We're going to deal people.
Deals.
They don't matter. People don't matter. These people don't matter. We're taking out the worst people that made it under the wall. This is why we need a wall. So since we don't have a vampire to clean them out, we need to build a wall. Dude, what the fuck? I don't know. I also think Buick 8 would be cool. Nobody knows about that one. Honestly, if I was going to suggest one to even read from a Buick 8, and I could see that being turned into like a season. I almost feel like, why can't we do like a season of a show that's just supposed to be one season? You know what I mean? Do 10 episodes, you know, like that way it's not this like, oh shit, are we going to cliffhanger it and make it multiple seasons? Which is supposedly when they were doing Under the Dome. I'm friends on Facebook with somebody who used to edit for Fringe, and he was working on Under the Dome. And they were originally planning on making that a single season event, and they were going to keep it kind of closer to the book. And I kind of feel like that maybe is like a sweet spot they could look at for trying to translate some of these bigger novels. 10 1-hour slots on like an HBO, so it's completely no holds barred. You can have your people jerking off, you can have your women being victimized, you can do whatever the fuck you want, Steve. Have it happen.
That's a brilliant idea, because then you could do, like, if the studios and the companies just want to make money and they want to do these multiple season things, do the multiple season thing with these different books. One book per season, and just continue even like it that way.
Just follow the American Horror Story.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
And he's even got collections of short stories that eventually, I mean, like the Crimson King was from a story out of Nightmares and Dreamscapes, and that became like a central fucking big bad in the Dark Tower. And fucking spoiler alert. Look, I know no one's going to read these books now because this movie was horrible. People who haven't read the books aren't going to read them. People who were just hearing about it for years are going to be like, fuck that, man. I saw the movie, it was garbage. It is awesome. Up until that last book. Like there's like the sort of towards the end of that last book, you're like, oh fuck, he's shit in the bed even with this one. But the rest of it's cool. It's his Lord of the Rings. You'd think that there would be a no-brainer at making this into a series of awesome movies. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure sitting down with all three of you to talk this over.
Always.
Yeah, man. This is a great idea. This is a great idea for a discussion, like for a roundtable. For like, why do they suck? Yeah, let's get to the bottom of this shit. Like, let's get some fucking microscopes out and figure this shit out.
I quite like to do episodes that will just alienate me from very famous people that would raise my rating. I think this is a key way of making a successful show.
They might appreciate your frank honesty, dude. For all you know, they might like be like, you know what? I've been having smoke blown up my ass for 20 years. It's about time I find out that I actually fucked up back then. And maybe I can try and do something better now.
Yeah, you gotta hope. That's why I tweet at them
you're doing a public service, Drew.
You're doing a public service. When I tweet to Michael Bay and say, fucking retire now.
Get
out. You cunt.
Or just lock him in the imprisonment that is like Transformers movies, so you can only do those for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
What's
like
funny
the
is-
glass prism in Superman. Just keep him like contained.
That's his Phantom Zone, is just making Transformers movies forever.
people do the 6 degrees of separation between them and Kevin Bacon. I can do 1 degree of separation between me and Michael Bay because Doug Richardson, my friend, he wrote Bad Boys and Die Hard 2.
Dude,
friends
you're
with
friends with him? You're
Yeah.
friends with him? My
Yeah.
God, that's fucking awesome. Tell him we said
So
hi.
he's friends with Michael Bay.
Tell him I have a screenplay.
People piss out on a regular basis. He's also friends with Bruce Willis, who I make fun of on a regular basis for
Oh,
his career in
dude,
life.
I've always wanted to meet Bruce Willis. I hear he's a dick in real life, though, so I'm kind of like
He did a good
disappointed.
interview though, because you could tell him he was a dick. Because
Oh,
no
yeah.
one would.
I've seen interviews where he just beats up the interviewer, basically, and you're just like, oh fuck, man, really? Fuck.
See, that's why I'd like to interview him, because he's like, what, 5'7"? I'm 6'6". So he can try. He's like, what, 60 odd?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe more like metaphorically beat them up just by like, you know, being a douche to their face and making them sound dumb when they're just trying to do their fucking job. But you know, there's also physically beating the shit out of people too. We can always go that route.
On TV.
Oh god, that's
It's
awesome.
like I used to say my dream job was being the guy that stands behind Tom Cruise on red carpets to make him look even smaller. It used to be Nicole Kidman's job,
Yeah,
but now it could be mine. I could just stand behind him going, to everybody.
just like rest your arm on his head, just like walk up and like, hey Tom, you ready to go get some food after this? Because I mean, shit, they're starting this thing. We gotta get inside.
Yeah, so when he leaves Scientology, Drew just go to Scientology and be like, hey, I have a brilliant idea for you how to get back at one of your former clients.
You heard about all this Vuitton shit?
I'll come up to my knees.
I'm like, I need to be audited right now. I'm gonna give
I
you
think
some
the
real.
closest I'm going to get audits of the fucking IRS ever get on me.
Yeah,
So
they come looking for you.
Everyone just go can pimp their shit. So where people can find you, who wants to go first?
I can go first. Sandwich from the Ranting and Raving podcast. We talk about movies, music, and sports. So if you liked me, come on over and check us out.
That's a good way to do it. I'm David Klone from Hollow9ine Network. Pretty much the same thing. If you liked anything I said, then checking out our website's probably a good thing for you to do because you'd probably find more shit you like. You might even find some shit where Steve joined us or Drew. So, you know, it's all a big, happy, incestuous podcasting family out here.
Aww.
We were Game of Thrones and like experts.
Yes.
I'm TW Brown. You can find me all over Amazon. I write zombie books for a living, and every once in a while do something different just for fun. But that's been my love since the 70s, and I don't see any reason to stop just because the day that I actually start checking out a couple more podcasts because I had a blast. You guys are hilarious.
Oh my God, we're your introduction to this world.
Well, it can only get better from
I was
here.
just
right?
saying, the ladder just goes up, dude. It's from here forward.
You should really check out this one that's called WTF.
If we're lucky, maybe we'll get to guest on it someday, way down the road after I invent women's wrestling or something.
I can't ever guest on that because I made a joke about how he looks like those funny faces used to buy and how the ones that's the big nose and the tongue.
Oh no! Fuck no!
Yeah, I stupidly made that joke on a live stream, so I'm never getting on that show.
Mark Maron, why? Oh God, dude, that's bad. That's real bad.
I can't help it. I'm an arsehole when I'm on
Nah,
camera.
we wouldn't want you any other way, man. But oh shit, that's bad.
Well, it's been an absolute honour sitting down with you guys, and I'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having us, man.
Thanks, Drew.
Always a pleasure.
Cheers.